Hi everyone, Dave here. Thank you so much for coming along to another episode of Legends of the Spire. This is the unashamedly niche podcast that talks to the former players and managers of Chesterfield Football Club about their careers in the sport and beyond too. Now, I've had a few weeks off from talking to former players. It's been great last couple of weeks talking to people like Luke Feather and the Spire Rights boys, but I'm sure you'll all be pleased to hear that we're back with a former player this week. And no better way to do it than to have a former captain of a title-winning team with me. I spoke to Steve Baines this week. Now, he started his career in the 70s with teams like Nottingham Forest, Huddersfield, and then Scunthorpe, where he first joined up with John Duncan before joining Chesterfield in the early 1980s. Now, he joined Chesterfield as a player, come coach, come assistant to John Duncan, and in his second season with the club did have that title win with us where he captained the side. It was great to have a chat with him about the earlier parts of his career and then time at Chesterfield, and then also about his post-playing career where he became a Football League referee. He was also then part of the founder members of CFSS back in 2001 too, so has remained to have strong links with Chesterfield, and you can still see him at games as well every now and then. I am at Spire Legends on Twitter and Instagram, Legends of the Spire on Facebook, so please do give us a shout and follow us wherever you can. And so here we are, latest episode. Back to the players this week, number 49, it's Steve Baines. You started, you're obviously a Nottinghamshire boy, aren't you?
Yeah. It all started for me many moons ago. 19, that's a start, isn't it? There's 20 odd years to start with. 1960, 68, 69 season. That's when it really started. I lived in Beeston, just outside Nottingham. And I used to play for I played for the county team and all this, that and the other, but I used to play for a team on a Saturday called Clifton All Whites. They won't call them Clifton All Whites now, but anyway, they played in real sparkling kit every week. It was credit to them. We probably had the best team in the county. We used to hammer everybody every week, absolutely hammer them. And majority of the lads were going round to different clubs, trials and all this, to the Arsenal, Man United, and Villa, everywhere, all over the country they were going. I never really went anywhere significantly. I had two trials, one with Forest, and one with Derby, and I did one with Derby, and it was when Mr. Clough and Peter Taylor were there in charge, and we went across there and had a trial at Simpin Lane, and my dad said, don't sign anything because it ties you down. Schoolboy form just ties you to a club. Well, we went back to the baseball ground. They chased me around the office trying to get me to sign this form. Cloughy and Peter Taylor, unbelievable, really was phenomenal. And what I had is, and I got offered apprenticeship with Derby and Forest. And Forest had supported as a young lad and gone in the Trent End, all this carry on. So I decided whether it would be good or bad, whether my decision was correct one or not, but I decided to go there and join the playing staff there. And that was July the 7th, 1969. It was about 2 weeks after my 15th birthday. So that's the only reason my dad let me leave school without any GCEs or whatever they were at that stage. And I joined the staff there, given that probably the trials they held them every weekend, and I was the only one taken on that year. So given the hundreds and probably not, if not thousands, it's gone through the system to try and get a position, I was the only one taken on. So that was something. But I had the option of going to Derby or Forest, and I thought Derby was, I'd have to stay away from home and all this carry on. It was only down the road when you think about it. Nowadays, it's sort of skipping the jump, isn't it? And I used to get the scouts coming around. Well, used to come around. Forest scout would come one week, and then Derby scout would come another week, and asking, how are you keeping it in touch with us and everything else. And then I made the decision to go to Forest. And that's where it all started for us.
Were you always a defender then?
Yeah. As a young lad and playing for the county, one of the main assets I had was a long ball. I tell you, from the halfway line at Lincoln City Ground, I could whirl it into the penalty box, and that I could really launch it. I can't do it now, but I used to practice by throwing a bit of a flat ball over the house. This is on the front and throw it into the back garden. So I just launch it that way. But I did that for hours. But I was a big lad. I mean, at 15, when I started at Forest, I was 6 foot, 6.5 inches and 13.5 stone. That was me. I'm about 6 foot now and about 12.5 stone now. So I can still get in the same clothes. In fact, I'm wearing them.
It's interesting. So, do you think your size kind of pointed you up towards defence, or was that just a?
Yeah, probably. I just in those days, a different game altogether. Those days, and we used to practice matches, training. First team against reserves, or youth team against reserves, that kind of scenario. And you can kick lumps out of people. They couldn't run very quick on one leg, could they? I mean, it was not rocket science, that one, was it? But I enjoyed it, and it was a dream to do what I wanted to do. I was lucky enough to be able to do it. Never earned any money at it all the way through my career. And my brother was a brickie, and he earned more money than I did. But it was something I wanted to do. I was lucky enough to do it for 18 years, something like that.
Was there ever any backup plan or anything like that then, or
no? I mean, it's a different game nowadays, because what happened years ago, as an apprentice, you go on there, your football training was really an afterthought. You was like groundsman. We've been on hands and knees weeding the pitch and cutting the grass and sweeping the terraces and things like that. Yeah, different altogether now. And there's nothing to do with the further education and all that kind of carry on, which is good. They need you need a string to the bow. Some of these young boys are going to the academy and think they've made it, and then when it doesn't happen, then it goes a bit pear-shaped for them, and then you've got nothing to go back to. So that's good in that respect. But in the main, when people of my ilk, when they finished a career, they had to get a job, because they didn't have that kind of backup behind them financially.
Yeah, and so you played kind of a few games for Forest, didn't you? But then you left.
The games, yeah. When I was always. There was a youth team coach there when I first joined there, called Bert Johnson, and we used to have these meetings, and he just said to me, "You're just one of them natural leaders. It's one of those things that you'll always be a leader," and that's how I feel. I always take on, and I won't ask anybody to do anything I won't do myself. But it's like one of them things that you're a natural leader, and people will follow you and listen to you. And I was fortunate enough, when I got into the just turned 17, I was captain of the Forest Reserves. I mean, I played my first game for Forest Reserves, I think I was about 16, against Everton. And in them days, you got in the reserves, you got international footballers playing: Colin Harvey, Jimmy Husband, Alan Whittle, and all. I played against Big Joe Royal, all these, and I was only like 16. And that was a frightening experience at times. I think Big Joe, he scored a hat-trick and played for England about 2 weeks later. But he scored a hat-trick, not one inside the box. He used to wallop a ball, he did. Crikey. He was a good player, good footballer. But no, at 17, I was captain of the Forest Reserves. And I mean, in that team then, there was the likes of Tony Woodcock, Biv Anderson, Martin O'Neill, Duncan McKenzie, John Robertson. These household names in that era, a year or two later, and that's internationals and everything. But yeah, when I made my debut at Forest, when I was just turned 18, Dave Mackay, he made me feel about 15 foot tall, and I had a couple of games. And unfortunately, the team that I was in or got into were on a sticky wicket. They like the pop and all this, that, and the other. 2 away games, and they were trolled. I had no chance. Yeah, you're getting hammered. Yeah. It was a difficult time, but it was good. I enjoyed it. I think I had two games and 2 centre forwards off the field before the end of the game. I remember playing in in a testimonial game on the cricket ground for the groundsman there. A game of cricket, obviously, and I was playing in one team, and Cluffy was the manager, but the opposing team. And ironically, he came up to me while I was on there. He says, "Young man, that young man," that kind of tone he had with him. And he said, "Is your father here?" I said, "No, why?" He said, "I'll tell you what, if you'd have come to Derby when I asked you to do so, you'd have been in my first team now." Because Roy Mack had ruptured his Achilles when he was playing for England, didn't he? And then, he said, with him, if he was good enough, he was old enough to make a difference. But he played another lad called Stevie Powell, played in midfield, and he was only 16. So he'd give you a go. Yeah,
it's interesting. Then obviously you left Forest and went to Huddersfield, but then like a couple of years later, Clough was then at Forest, wasn't he? So
well, he was there. He gave me, in fact, he gave me a free transfer. Oh. Yeah, he came just as, that season because they were struggling, and I'd gone from really confident and strong about my game with Dave Mackay, and Dave went to Derby, and there was another guy called Alan Brown and John McSeveny who was old, and they did the opposite for me. Really destroyed me. It just wasn't working, and and I really went backwards in a major fashion, I suppose. And Cliffy came and he just said, "Look, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to let you go." I mean, I was like devastated. That was the only thing I wanted to do. I'm just 20 years of age, just got married, and it was a wreck, absolute wreck. It was my dream. It had gone, and then I went off on my travels and on my journeys, which was very interesting. Up to, I mean, my wife and I went up to Huddersfield, and we went through Mont Breton and all this and the other into there. It was lagging it down with rain. It was dark. It was dismal. It was miserable. And I thought, what the bloody hell we're coming to here? But it was very interesting. I enjoyed my stay at Huddersfield, and met some good guys, some good people, and it gave me a leg up. It gave me a start in life on the football ladder.
I was going to say, because you played a lot of games, didn't you, at Huddersfield? Like 114, something like that?
Yeah. We got a few under our belt. Played for some characters as well. I mean, there's a lad there called Brian O'Neill. I don't know whether you remember him. He used to play for Southampton. You're all cracking when the red mist dropped. When he's playing red mist dropped, I'm telling you, he was lethal. He used to come down. He'd come diving in on the morning into training with his wellies on because he got a bit of a small holding. Got a couple of dogs in the back of the car. Anyway, he dived in, jumped it. He'd wear anything from a 7 to 11 in boot size. He took anything on his feet and go out and start training. He was a character. There were some one or two. That's where my first meeting of Newt as well. Newt had gone from an apprentice to just turned professional, and that's where our paths crossed there. That's where we first met up. And another big guy that sadly is no longer with us, a lad called Bobby Campbell. Big Bob had a few games. Well, went to Derby, and he came from Villa. We joined at the same time, and sadly took his life 2 or 3 years ago. He had one of the nastiest leg breaks I've seen. Absolutely flapping, when we were playing Portsmouth. But yeah, he was a character. We used to train down an area called Leeds Road. The weekend, all the local teams would play on there, and we'd go and do our training starting Mondays right through to the Friday. So it was so-called shit heaps. They were a real mess. And and the manager at the time was a joint one, an old guy called Tom Johnston, we used to go down there and train on these things, and we used to do, like follow your leader. And Big Bob, the big Irish lad, he took us round there, and it was an absolute shit. It's been raining all weekend, all this, that, and the other. Well, they're doing forward rolls and everything else, forward rolls and tagging and diving and slide tackles and all this. And Tom had just got a brand new car, Triumph 2000, bench seat, all the business, So he said, whatever this lad does, you do, lads. And they said, oh, shit, it's up to the eyeballs there. He opens one side of Tom's door of his car, slides across the bench seat, and then 18, 20 odd more lads slid through his car. It was... so I looked at it, stupid boy.
Was that time at Huddersfield then a good time for you to then kind of get over being released
yeah. I mean, we trained. Yeah, it was. I mean, we trained. Yeah, my wife will tell you. We trained. We put like a month's work into about a fortnight before we went up to Scotland on tour, doing a bit of a pre-season. Oh, when I sat down and tried to get up, it's like Douglas Bard. I got rigor mortis. There's that. I'd never trained so hard in my life. There used to be down on Leeds Road. There was a climb up to the side. It's called Dalton Bank, and the runners up there, you're like treading water halfway up. Yeah, it was awful. And you look down the side of the canal, and there's like ants down there, and that's how far you come up. It was
you look back and like how fit were you back then? Were you? Was that when you were your fittest in your career? Then?
Yeah, probably so. Yeah, because they run the socks office. And it's a different way of going about things nowadays. But some good strong sessions. And Newt was a strong lad. Big Bob, he was a strong boy. He's an asset when we was up here at Chesterfield. But I mean, he was a fruitcake then. But I mean, he was a total. Yeah, he was a strong runner. Yeah, for a big lad.
So then, after Huddersfield, you were at Bradford for a bit.
Yeah, what happened was with that one there, I'd done pretty well at Huddersfield. We'd obviously done reasonably well. And a transfer deadline day, one of those, out of the blue. And the manager at Bradford was a big Irish lad called John Napier. And they came in, made an offer which seemed to fit the bill. I don't know, 18 or 20 grand or something. It was a fortune in them days. And I went to Bradford and probably enjoyed my best time as far as everything, really, because it was a nice, tight pitch. They couldn't get away from you. It was really up against the hoarding, so anybody close to you, you can catch them. I think there wasn't enough room like the spaces they have now. But I enjoyed that there, Bradford. Probably Player of the Year, 2 years on the trot, got into the PFA team and all. And we weren't a team that's going anywhere. We didn't achieve anything as such, but I got in the PFA team, and it was good. I enjoyed it. Played with some good people as well. Like called Paul Reaney came to us from Leeds, and Mickey Bates, who sadly died not too long ago. He came to us from Leeds as well. So they were good to meet up with them and get their perspective on what they'd done in Europe and everything else. It was good listening to them, talking to them.
You scored quite a few goals, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
In that couple of seasons, I've got it down as 99 appearances, 17 goals. Is that right?
Yeah.
Because that's like
my ratio in total.
We've got plenty of strikers that have
had. My ratio in my career, I think it's 1 in 10. That's my ratio in my career. But there, what it was, Batesy. We used to, when in free kicks and things like that, we just have a bit of eye-to-eye contact, and we knew there as soon as I dropped the head, nodded, he'd drop it on there, and I'd just go flying in there, and it worked. It was good. We got a good few goals. I enjoyed it.
What's the secret then to being a goal-scoring defender? Is there any secret to it? Because we've had now that you kind of
you got to be big. You got to be big and daft and stick your head in where somebody else won't put theirs in. And when you're flying in and a big guy and your goalkeeper don't want it either. They're not too keen on getting any getting hammered. So yeah, just got to be a bit brave, stick your head in there, or whatever, boot, whatever it may be. So my wife says you're an animal, and I was really a bit of an animal. As soon as I walked over that white touchline, I was an animal. You know, I'd hammer anybody, take on all comers. I remember a big George Riley. He was 6'7", but he didn't stay around me very long either. I remember one time his legs were like about a metre long from kneecap to ankle. Well, they had stud marks down on their teeth, missing everything. He went and stood out on the wing. Didn't come near me, didn't cause us any problems at all. So yeah, you leave your mark, you make yourself known, make your presence, and yeah.
But how are you with opposition players like away from the pitch then?
It's fine.
It's kind of one of those things where I suppose it's survival on the pitch, isn't it?
It is. It's like everything, isn't it? Things go off on there. When you're done there, you have a beer after and you have a laugh about it and things. Yeah, that's how it works. It's just how you. Yeah, it's just how you make up, really. It's about being a winner. Yeah, and I didn't even want anybody to win a header, not about win a game. So, and that's how I was. Tackle anybody, and it's. I was only a journeyman, but when I see the likes of, I don't really remember the guy, Big Jim Holton, who played for Manchester United. At the time I was transferred from Bradford, actually to Warsaw. Jim, he went from Shrewsbury to Man United for about 80 grand. And we're very similar, you know, big, strong, no nonsense defenders, and like a tackle, like a header, yeah, score a few goals. And yeah, I was disappointed I didn't go any further or any higher. You know, maybe a little bit on pace or something like that. I don't know. You never know. It's just somebody taking a shine to you.
And so after Bradford, so we're on to Walsall next.
Yeah, Walsall.
The first time where you've moved quite a bit in the other direction, haven't you? You've kind of been staying Nottinghamshire, up in Yorkshire for a bit.
Yeah. No, I went to Warsaw. I was apparently I was the first one ever to go to a tribunal. First ever to go to a tribunal, and that was when Warsaw came in for me, and Bradford was selling. I think they wanted 65,000 for me, and the tribunal was settled on 50 cash, and that was the deal. And Graham Kelly told me that. He was there, the FA, because I was going to do a bit of. We actually put a synopsis together to write a book. He was helping me with that, but we never got around to finishing it anyway. But yeah, I was the first one to go to a tribunal.
Did they have a briefcase there on the day?
Yeah, the owner, the chairman, was a scrap metal merchant, so he got a few quid under his pillar, I think, or so. And yeah, but it didn't work out for me there. An old colleague of mine and he was old, Neil Martin, took over as manager at Warsaw, and the chairman must have said, you know, sort him out. And he made me train with the kids, you know, and then kind of things again. You know, I've had it all, seen it all, so it was never really a problem to me. I just managed it, just get myself fit, playing with the youngsters and everything else. And then it came to a point where, you know, we're trying to move on from there. I had a spell on loan at Bury over a Christmas period, which suited us because I was home then with the family. I could travel across to Bury. That worked out all right, so that was handy. I had a couple of 3 months there. Well, I got sent off from the first game after about half an hour. But anyway, apart from that, it's all right.
So then it's the interesting bit now, and that it comes to Scunthorpe, which was then your kind of first time with John Duncan, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, what happened there? I got on the horse's back at Warsaw numerous times, different clubs, so going everywhere. I remember Kev Randall saying, he said, I tried to get you and Les at York and all this, that and the other. And Blackpool came in, and each time they wanted to try and recoup as much money as they laid out as they possibly could. At the end of the day, it cost them, because I just sat there and I went for next to nothing. If not nothing, next to nothing anyway. And we had a mutual friend, John and I, a lad called Lammy Robertson, who we played together at Bradford. And Lammy rang me and said, why don't you go to Scunthorpe? I say, you're having a laugh or what? I mean, just finished second from the bottom of the Football League, shipped in about 110 goals, just managed to avoid getting relegated into the non-league. I said, what do I want to be going there for? Give me a break, will you, pal? And, I think that disappeared that badly, gone downhill that badly. And he says, well, what do you want? I wanted to go into management. That was my goal. That was my dream, to go into management when I finished off towards the end. And he knew that. He said, why don't you go and talk to him about going on the coaching side as well? So, and that was the when we had a meeting, when John and I first met, that was what we discussed. The idea of going not just as a player, but I'll go as player coach. And that's where it all started.
When did your managerial ambitions was that right at the start of your career then? You talked about always being a bit of a leader.
Yeah, it was one of those, as you're getting towards it, latter, and that really stimulated it, the thought process then, I think, because from a playing perspective, I'd done probably having the purple patches as I thought, but then I wanted to put something, have some kind of input on from a management point of view, not just being a captain, but I've been an input from that coaching and then going on to the management side of things. And so that's where that really started there. And I enjoyed that because I used to take a lot of the training. I mean, Dunks played a little bit. I mean, we Scunthorpe, where Beefy used to come in and train with us now and again. So I've run him around the track a few times as well. And he was a good lad. He used to get stuck in and train and did really well. So we've met some people. My wife's claim to fame is him and Beefy's wife carry him out of, when we won promotion, carry him out of the function about 2 o'clock in the morning. He's supposed to be in Taunton at 10 o'clock next morning or that morning. Yeah, carried him out into a taxi. So yeah, but so we met some good people. But it was just a dream to do that. That's what I wanted to do. And then what happened was that John and the chairman, that was a clash of personalities, and the chairman. I thought I got the job. I thought I cracked it here. Looked round the corner and Sniffers stood there. You got him already lined up. Sacked John and got Sniffer stood in the corner. I enjoyed my spell with a few months with him as well, just finishing off the promotion. We weren't the best team in the world, but we did okay. Organised ourselves, and 1 or 2 good players. 1 or 2 also runs, but we got there in the end. We didn't give much away. Big Les and I were there again, same thing. So kitchen sink could come in every weekend, but you get away with that. And then Cammy nick a goal, or another big lad called Chris Cowlin, he got a few goals as well. He was a big lad up front. Yeah, so you need these people around you.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I've had John Duncan on, and he talked about his time at Scunthorpe, and obviously said, I was the first season, it wasn't as good, but then he was like, second season, we were right at the top, and then February I'm gone.
Yeah.
And obviously he went off to Hartlepool, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then you finished off the promotion there.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, don't say you never know, but probably me going there, if I hadn't have gone there and things, how things work out, it might have not lasted much longer than that. He'd gone back into education. So what he had achieved over the years since that point, 30 odd years, probably was good fortune of myself joining up and teaming up with him at Scunthorpe initially, and then back into Chesterfield. Yeah. People forget these things, how these little bits just drop into place, don't they? And you need a bit of good fortune in life. And somebody, we're a decent team. We're a decent team.
Was it nice then getting a promotion? Because obviously you're.
The thing was,
from a few clubs, it must have been nice to have.
It was, because I look at 2-3 years I had in management, effectively, player coach, assistant player manager at Chesterfield, and player coach there. In the 3 seasons, 2 promotions. So that's not a bad record, is it?
No.
Yeah, and I believed in myself, and I thought I had something there I could add. And like Dyche has done now, I can manage people. It's about managing people. That's where the refereeing came in. It's about managing people. You got to be able to empathise, and you got to understand what's going on, and then knowing your people. It's like when I had a business, it's knowing your staff. You can't get a big stick doesn't suit everybody. So you've got to be able to manage people and get the best out of them.
So how did the move to Chesterfield come about then?
We got promotion. We got promotion there, and John rang me. I've got another year left on my contract at Scunthorpe, but John rang me and said, "Big man, would you come across here and do the same job with me at Chesterfield?" It was a little bit closer to where I was living, because Huddersfield to Chesterfield, Huddersfield to Scunthorpe, it's a bit closer. So I thought, oh, that works out. That would do all right. And we chatted, and to be fair to David Wraith, he said to me, the main reason we got promotion is through you. You were the main reason we got promotion, which I thought was very nice. And he said, but I understand what you want to do, and good luck to you, and just let me go, give me a couple of bob, and let me go. And with Billy Bremner was at Doncaster. Manager Billy, he wanted me to go there as well, do a similar thing there with him.
Yeah, well, so we're in 1983 now, aren't we? So how is it when you go to a club and you're not only just joining as a player, but you're joining as kind of a coach? You've got kind of a foot in various different camps.
Yeah, you have, and it's you have to manage that element as well. I think that you can see it from both. You have to be able to see it from both angles. And I was probably the link between the dressing room and the management. So not for telling tales, but it's a matter of managing things. So where if John wanted to get a bit strong, I could say, well, look, we have to. There's ways and means we have to do it. And I was still a part of the team, so it became. It can be a tough one, but it's one I enjoyed, and never got any real grief from any of the players, and they respected that and respected me, I think, and we trained hard, and I think overall we did a reasonable sort of job.
Yeah, absolutely. So that first season then. So it was 13th, I think. So it was like mid-table, wasn't it? First season, but it's like gearing itself up to then a promotion.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't think we're the best team in the league, but we're as well organised. It's like I said to you before. What happens was with Les and I and the team boys we had in Newt up front, Big Ernie, and. The guys in John Matthews and the guys in midfield, Endo and all these kind of boys, they're 100%ers. We didn't really have any superstars, but we had people who commit and bought into what was trying to achieve here, and it worked. Like I say, we weren't the best, but Newt was he was the union representative. I could have got another. PFA team thing, I think, but you need to send all the slips in to the PFA for the nominations, and Newton didn't bother filling them in, so we didn't get any in, and we won the championship. He's a clown, he was at times, but anyway, I might have had two then.
He owes you one there.
Yeah, he does owe me one for sure.
He was very funny when he was on the podcast.
Oh, Newt, he's a character. He used to make me laugh at times, and especially when we're getting Huddersfield, and some of the tales he'd come out with. But yeah, very funny lad.
But with you in kind of coaching and playing capacity, do you ever kind of have to keep characters like that in check a little bit? Is it kind of an odd? It's
just you just manage them, don't you? It's like it's like everything else. You know what they're about. you know what they're up to. It's just managing them. Just got to say, take them one side and say, look, it's like a Thursday night. Yeah, you may be able to manage to go and have 8 to 10 points, but the people who come in stringing along with you, they can't cope with that. You'll come in and train on Friday. They're on the backs more or less.
Yeah.
Can't do it. It's not. He was a powerful boy, and it's a strong lad. So
yeah.
He had a few hangers on that used to go out with him, but they couldn't cope with drinking all of that and then going in and train next day.
It's interesting as well, wasn't it, that promotion season? Because obviously the thing a lot of people talk about in that season is the whole rotation between Ernie Moss and Bob Newton and Phil Walker, and it's kind of different, that home and away scenarios.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got bigger and just leading the line all the time. Then Newt could get the channels. Wacky he'd hold the ball. He'd bring a little bit to it as well. So he'd bring his strengths to it as well. And between the three of them, it was a good. And young Phil Brown came in, and the goals came from different positions, and it was good. It was an interesting time when you reflect on things. And it's wonderful, really, to end up winning the championship and then having the presentation at Saltergate, and it was a good experience.
Was there any kind of standout, memorable moments or parts of that season that you thought were the bits where you thought, actually, we might, we've got a chance here, or we're going to win it at this point?
I think we felt as a team, as a group of players, that you got to, if we scored a goal, that was it. Shutters were down. Nobody's going to beat us. If we got a goal, if we got in front, that was it. Lock up shop, and that was it. Big Les and I, and Sean, and all these other lads there, and like I say, these lads there, they're fully committed. So once we got a goal, they'd have all on beat us. 1-0. You look at the record there. I don't know how many 1-0s we'll have had in that season. Probably be a few, I suppose.
It can't beat a 1-0.
No.
Happy with a 1-0 every week.
Yeah,
so what's
absolutely.
it like being captain then, getting to lift a trophy on the presentation?
Yeah, it's very good. Yeah, it's excellent. My family were there in the ground, and my kids were on the pitch, and all this and the other. So it was a lovely experience. And you forget about these things, don't you, over the years, and you look back and think, well, that one had that. Yeah, and there are people there, and it's lovely now. I can go to the ground, and people, still know who you are, which is nice.
Did you keep the medal and things like that?
Yeah.
Just in the loft, or is it on display?
No, it's not. It's in a box somewhere in the drawer. But it's a little gold medal, and I got my PFA one as well. Then I think my grandson, he'll probably have those at some point. But they're sat in the box. We didn't get the same. Didn't we get a medal or what we got at Scunthorpe? I can't quite remember what we gave us. Anyway, but it was a good experience. Enjoyed it, and and then it all went a bit pear-shaped after that.
Well, before we go on that, I wanted to mention, because obviously you'd had a few seasons at Bradford, and that day that we won the title was the same day as the Bradford fire, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Ironically, on Boxing Day, Christmas before, I had a call from a chap called Brian Edwards, who's the physio at Bradford. And Brian was there at Huddersfield and Bradford when I was there. And Roy Mack was at Bradford. He was the manager. And Brian remember the phone going Boxing Day or Christmas Day or whatever it was there. Steve, it's Brian Edwards. Hi, Brian. He said, Roy Mack asked me, he said, to give you a ring. He said, do you fancy coming back to Bradford? And I was like player coach at Chesterfield, and I said, I said, tough one, Brian. I said, I think I really need to see this season through, for where we are and what we're up to now, because I was up there and really pushing hard. And I said, I think we've got a chance, and I think I really need to see it through. But it's lovely that to ask me to come back. And the really fortunate thing is that my family would have been in the stand there at Bradford. If I'd have gone back there, my family would have been there. My dad, wife, kids, they'd have been there. And that's the frightening thing about it. So just how life deals with you sometimes, do you? It was a frightening thing. But yeah, that was a memory of that one. But I just need to see it through. But it was a shocker.
So then you mentioned after that promotion season. So what kind of happened after that promotion season?
Well, the following season, a little bit indifferent, but we had a step up, and we didn't get many new players in there, so it was a step up. So a little bit, there's always a little bit of a gap there, and so a little bit of a struggle. And then the big thing was that the chairmanship took a change, and Barry was an absolute diamond, and then we got the other guy who made a few quid out of bringing snooker to the TV. He wanted to throw his weight around, and ironically, he actually sacked John. He actually sacked him and got the groundsman to take his name off the door. He actually sacked him, and then it couldn't, for whatever reason. John had got a bit long contract and things like this, but after that, then come after me. I just got another year left on my contract, or less than a year, and then came. It was little man syndrome. Want to make an impression, want to do something about it, and then came after me. And what happened was I had spondylosis of the neck, and after a while I got fed up with doing it. I was getting fined, or potentially getting fined for going in to train. John and I fell out for a period there at that stage, and they dragged him across the desk one day. Anyway, and what you're doing in here? You can't come in to train. Oh, come on, behave yourself. And I had the PFA backing me and everything else. And I went to see a specialist, and the specialist said, look, if it's my neck, because what happened was if I was to hold a phone there and things like that, and for a length of time, just locks. So that, he said, I would pack it in if I was you. And I got a letter from him. I said, well, you put it in writing, and took it into the ground, stuck it under Watterson's nose, and said, there you go. That's where I am. I'll just keep taking my wages, or you pay me up, or whatever you do. And that's where we finished at part of the company. So it went a bit sour, really, and it spoiled, that by that kind of action he took. That really destroyed my dream, because once you're out of the game, once you're out of that kind of network, it's very difficult to get into management. I never really thought about going into non-league management, which I should have done, really, but that's the route I should have taken in hindsight. But
does what happened after the promotion taint the promotion at all, or are you able to kind of
no, not really, because it was a different year. It's different people that making the shots at that stage. Barry was a lovely guy, Barry Hubbard, a smashing guy, and your other man that came in, it just made a few quid and wanted to throw his weight around, and it became a bit of a bitter taste, a bit of sour taste in your mouth. I suppose at the end, I was a little bit resentful at that time, because you committed yourself, you give everything, playing with injuries, doing all you've done, and then you get treated like that.
So how did your plans kind of change then? I suppose because you still only
drastically.
You're like 33, something like that.
33. Drastically, I suppose, if you like. I said I'd never play non-league, and I got enticed into playing a few non-league games. A chap called Jeff Worth, local guy, and Matlock and Boston or wherever it was. One or two I played, and I after a while I just said, look, no, I can't do this. I'm pinching money. I can't even raise a gallop. I had no motivation whatsoever. I just said, I can't do it. And I just saw an article in the paper, Tommy Smith and Chopper Harris, and about ex-players being referees. Well, that's a bit of a challenge, and that's where that journey started, from that kind of piece, that article in the paper, in the Daily Mirror.
But it's rare for ex-professionals to take up refereeing. Well, that transition has been made by a former Bury player, Steve Baines, who's been promoted to the Football League list 6 years after hanging up his boots. His first match was Rochdale's match with Cardiff at Spotland on Saturday. Andy Buckley now reports on the poacher turned gamekeeper.
Steve Baines' first job when he gets to a ground is making sure he goes into the right dressing room. After 13 years as a player, he's seen here celebrating a promotion with Chesterfield, he may have changed the colour of his kit, but not his reputation as a defender whose hard tackling landed him in trouble from time to time.
Wife used to say I was a bit like Jekyll and Hyde. I was on the field, I was a bit nasty. I was off the park, I was a different person.
So what are you expecting this afternoon?
I don't know, I'll tell you about 4:45. I'm looking to enjoy myself with my colleagues. We're going to go out there and do our bit, do our best, and hopefully we come off and we're pleased all parties.
A few minutes later, the moment of truth arrives. Steve's debut as a Football League referee. He's the first player to graduate to the league list since they began a policy of encouraging players who've retired from the game to take up a career in the middle. The match had plenty of incident, including a disputed penalty for Rochdale, but overall Steve Baines kept a fairly low profile, making just 2 bookings. He even encountered an old teammate from his days at Huddersfield Town.
I can remember him as a big, strong centre-half, and when I went in, to give the team sheet in there, Steve Baines was a referee, and the comparison was a little bit different,
What did you say to him?
He just says, I hope you're a better referee than you are as a centre-half, but he seemed to take it well, and I thought, out there on the field, because he's been a player, he seemed to relate to the players, very well. He let things go, he talked to people, and I think he did a very good job.
And I've enjoyed myself. It's something I've been building up to for a 6-year period, and it's fulfilled everything I've been looking to achieve. Got out there, first one under my belt. It's a few years since I've actually played Football League, so going out there and refereeing is a different prospect. So I was pleased with the way it's actually gone and how I felt with the actual game itself.
I started, they used to say I got preferential treatment. That was far from the truth. I was assessed more than little. Even at local levels, you wouldn't used to get all them things. I got 1-2 trophies for being referee of the year. I was probably a better referee than I was footballer in hindsight. But the thing was, as I worked my way through the pyramid, it took me 6 years to get into the Football League middle, which is pretty rapid. But there's another one, a lad, Graham Sutcliffe, I think his name was, from the northeast, and he did it in 5 years. I mean, he hadn't played football before, but he got through, and he was a good referee, little fella. But he did really well. So and unfortunately, I knew before I'd even refereed a game that I wouldn't get into the Premier League. My coordinator was a chap from Alan Seville. He refereed the Derby game when we won 1-0. Alan, little ginger hair fella, and he was my coordinator, and he just said, they're only paying lip service here for you. You got yourself into this position, but believe you me, you won't get any higher. You won't go into the Premier. They won't allow you to go into the Premier. And I hadn't even done a game then. I'd gone to some pre-season presentation with him at Derby, new regulations and that kind of thing coming into this new season. He said, come across and come with me. And I did that, and he just told me all that. But I used to push and push and push, try and get myself into that next level. It's like when you're finishing refereeing, every referee, when they're retiring from it, and you get a final of something, whether it be trophy, bars, or whatever, whatever cups there are going. Well, they've even got a semi-final, not a final. So, yeah, it was. I enjoyed it because it was a challenge. I'm the only one that's ever done a full career and then gone back to Football League as a referee. So we got 1 or 2 firsts. the first one to vote for a tribunal ever, first one ever and I wouldn't have thought that I would be beaten, because a lot of these boys now, unless I've spoken to one of the lads locally, when I've seen them in the gym over the years and been on about it, I said, have a go with it. These boys, if you've got a bit of savvy, it's just a bit, refereeing is a bit like driving. You pass your test and then you learn how to drive. And refereeing is the same thing. You pass that test, or whatever it's called, the examination, and then you apply yourself, and with being an ex-player you can empathise, you know what's going off. It doesn't get to the stage where you have to caution somebody, because you've nipped it before it gets to that point. It's recognition. And when some of these boys have had I'd say, I've done all that, my friend. I've had it. I've done it all. I've done worse than you've done this. I don't try and get out any bullshit and all that. Yeah. So no, I enjoyed that, and it elongated my association with professional football. And sadly, the wrong people were in charge, in control when I was being a referee. Keith Hackett said if you'd have started a couple of 3 years early, you'd have got into the Premier, no problem whatsoever. You had all the qualities. But I said, I don't think I would, because people, the regime in control, didn't want what it was about. Still the case to a degree.
And obviously you didn't referee a Chesterfield game, because obviously that was kind of against the rules, wasn't it? But you'll have taken charge in matches for your other previous clubs. How do you find that when you're going back to a club that's
difficult?
It's hard because people are going to assume bias, aren't they?
Yeah, very difficult. And the people that send you to these games, the people, the match officials that do these fixtures, they hadn't a clue. They didn't know how it worked. Never bothered to ask you, your experience and everything else. So, I'd had seven different clubs, but apart from Chesterfield, I'd officiated at all the others in some capacity or other. But it was a double-edged sword as well. I used to get, and I did pretty well with it. And about a fourth season in, Phil Don, who's head of the Premier League, and Jim Ashworth, who looked after the Football League, in a pre-season thing, they just said, look, we're changing now, because they have two levels, two panels of referees for, and you can interchange if your marks are good, assessments, clubs and assessor marks are good, then you'll get promoted to the Premier League and all this, that and the other. Oh, well, I set my stall out here, and my coordinator was Peter Parks at that stage, and we got to the end of September. We'd done a few games. He said, "You can't do any more. There's a guy called Clyde Wilkes and Matt Mathias. One's higher than you, and you're sat in the middle." Took them both on the Premier League, never gave me a sniff. Just how it was going. It's never going to happen. You think if I'd got on there and Jimmy Hill went on this show on Sky and a couple of times, and I can't understand it. I said, well, that's the reasoning behind it. Sadly, the powers that be control your destiny, and that's what's happened.
So I wanted to just finally kind of touch on when because you became a founder member, didn't you, of CFSS when?
Yes, I did.
When everything was kind of going off there.
I did. Yeah, it was. Mike Warner rang me and just said, "Steve, would you join us and raise the profile, of what we're trying to achieve here?" I said, "Yeah, of course I will. Yeah, no problem. I'd enjoy that." I mean, to be fair, I tried to get people to buy the club because I wanted to get involved with it. I seriously have, because I think they've done a tremendous job, but I think they're only custodians because they don't have any. I know there's a couple of local supporters put a serious amount of money in just recently, but the people, the hierarchy at the moment are just custodians because they don't have the financing to take it forward, do they? But they've done a super job. They really have.
How do you look on what's happened at Scunthorpe then? Because obviously they're
that's a shocker, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, just just like here, just tumbled. You could see it, the writing was on the wall here, and didn't do the right things to address it. And obviously the same has happened there. It's a tough one.
So what's your kind of relationship with football like now then? Because some people obviously leave it behind a bit. Obviously, you still come and watch it quite a bit.
Yeah, I like to go and watch them. Yeah, I'll go and watch them. I'll go on Saturday. I'd love to see them get back into the Football League. I think it might be a tough ask, though, a big ask now. I really do. I think they've got a mountain to climb because, like I say, they're not in the best. Like I say, momentum isn't with them at the moment where it was. And you start making, and I hear comments being made. We're like the strongest team in the league, and all this stuff. Just keep your comments to yourself. Just do it, and then at the end there, they just under promote, overachieve. Yeah, that's where you do it.
To finish off, then, what are your kind of presiding memories of Chesterfield and Saltergate and various different training grounds and all sorts those years at Chesterfield?
No, I enjoyed it. And up until the last point, it was a good experience. And I enjoyed being amongst it. Met some lovely people, played with some great lads. We had a camaraderie there, was all good. And then we've gone from the old ground. That's gone up to the new ground, and that's like I say, it's got to be all right going to work there every other week, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
bit better than getting a splinter in your backside, sat in the stand in Saltergate, wasn't it? But it's, as Jimmy said, it's a funny old game, isn't it?
Certainly is. Great. Well, thank you so much for having a chat.
No problem. Enjoyed it.
Help me out. Anytime I've got a problem with it, it's either you two. Okay? Enjoy yourselves. We'll talk to each other.